Hey everyone, what is going on? So we are doing more Sinister Cup battles, and I really want to talk about battling Pokemon that you haven't necessarily battled either a lot or that you haven't battled at all. And my opponent today happens to be my brother, and I did well in these games. I believe I won most of them. But he did get me in a couple of the games just because I was really not familiar with some of the Pokemon. So let's take a look at his team. He has Poliwrath, Steelix, Dusclops, pretty standard. Then he has Ferrothorn, Lugia, and Cresselia. And my team is Steelix, Bronzong, Poliwrath, Dusclops, Alolan Marowak, and Mawile. So the Ferrothorn, I have used that in a video myself, and I do personally like it. I was doing the moves Bullet Seed as well as Acid Spray and Power Whip. He's going with Metal Claw, Thunder, and Power Whip. And so not super familiar with that. Obviously, I know it's weak to fire, so Dusclops with Fire Punch, but haven't really had any experience with it. And then Lugia, I think I battled once against Trexler in this cup. I believe so. And then Cresselia, I know what Cresselia does. I mean, it's really a popular Pokemon, although I haven't faced it too much, I don't think. But really good Pokemon. But yeah, so it's important to know Pokemon, even off-meta Pokemon. Not that these Pokemon are necessarily off-meta, they're just some I haven't really played. So you should really get familiar with how many moves it takes to get to their specific moves, even if you don't play against them, because you might come up against an opponent. That's how I lost to Trexler in our cup. We were playing in the finals last month, and I lost in the finals. He was using the Ferrothorn, and at that time I had no idea what moves Ferrothorn got. So I think it had just come out. It was relatively new, so you definitely want to familiarize yourself with a bunch of different Pokemon, not just the popular ones like Poliwrath and Mawile and Steelix. Those Pokemon you probably will see the most of, but you still want to know how many, let's say, Metal Claws it takes Ferrothorn to get to a Power Whip, even if you don't necessarily face it. So, as I said, it did cost me a couple battles, so we're playing in the Ultra League, even though we're using Great League Pokemon just so I could increase my badge. But let's take a look at some of these battles. We're going to start commentating the next set, and we're both going head-to-head with Steelix. He gets to his move first. I don't shield this. Yeah, I didn't think I shielded it. He does try and bluff me with that Crunch. I'm going to go straight for the Earthquake, not bluffing this time, and he takes it. So that is good for us, and then he gets to a move. I did not think it was Earthquake, so I let it go, and it actually is Earthquake, so he does hit me hard there. So we had the lead, but he actually takes it with that Earthquake, so good play on his end. We're going to bring in Alolan Marowak. He brings in his Lugia, and I know what Lugia has. Like, obviously, I know it has Hydro Pump as well as Sky Attack, but I didn't know how fast it charged up, so that was my mistake. So I'm going to go ahead and block this. I thought that was a Sky Attack, but I still blocked it. I switched into Dusclops. He brings in his own Dusclops, trying to charge up enough for 2 Shadow Punches. I will be able to take a Shadow Punch from him, and then I'm going to fire off a Shadow Punch of my own. And he'll let it go, and then we actually don't have quite enough for another one, so I'm going to charge up a little bit extra and then fire off a Shadow Punch against the Dusclops. And now I believe I shield this just so I could feint him down with Hex, because I am using Hex instead of Feint Attack. So we do go ahead and feint that Dusclops, and then we immediately click on the Shadow Punch against Lugia. See how much damage we could do. It doesn't do a lot, but we're able to get almost back-to-back, or pretty much back-to-back Shadow Punches, adding up in damage. He does knock out my Dusclops, and then I bring in Alolan Marowak, and he's going to fire off a Hydro Pump against us. Now, I did not think Lugia had enough energy for a Hydro Pump. I thought it was going to be a Sky Attack. I thought I would win, and then I thought I would finish off Lugia, because I believe I could have survived that Sky Attack, where I can't survive a Hydro Pump. So, again, didn't really matter because I had no shields left, but it's just good to familiarize yourself with it, as I already mentioned. So right now I'm going in with Poliwrath. I switch out against his Ferrothorn. He does get off his charge move, which is going to be Thunder, so we could take that. He switches in before I click on the Fire Punch. I knew he would probably switch out, so I didn't want to click on that Fire Punch. And a little bit of lag, but we're able to get off another Shadow Punch, so that is good against his Poliwrath. And my Poliwrath currently has that power up punch, but I actually did switch it. These videos were recorded before I switched it, so now I have Dynamic Punch as well as Hydro Pump, so we'll see how that works. But yeah, I think Dynamic Punch is probably the way to go, and then it's up to you if you want Ice Punch or Hydro Pump on your Poliwrath. Maybe it depends on your team, but right now I will go for the power up punch to raise my attack, and then he's going to hit us with a power up punch and switch into Cresselia. So I'm going to pull the switch immediately into Mawile, and I believe I take this hit. No, I actually block it. Kind of surprised I blocked that. I don't know why I blocked that. So I'm going to go for the power up punch. I guess I blocked it because I wanted to stay as healthy as possible. He blocks this, fearing Play Rough, but because he didn't know how long it took Mawile to get to Play Rough, I did. It takes Mawile 30 bites, but I know it's difficult to count with Mawile, or bite in general. So I'm going to go ahead and go for the power up punch against his Poliwrath, and that will knock out Poliwrath, and then he brings in that Ferrothorn. And, you know, it's doing a decent amount of damage to me. I mean, we are neutral to Metal Claw, and he's able to get off a power which will knock me out. But I bring in my Poliwrath, which has energy loaded, ready to go for the power up punch. He does block that, and he said he was almost to the power whip. I think he was one away, but we're able to win that one. So that was awesome. So we're going to go ahead and jump into another video. I do lead with my Mawile. He leads with his Dusclops. So this is definitely a favorable matchup for me. Yes, he has Fire Punch, but we could either block that or we could also take it. Mawile can definitely take a Fire Punch from a Dusclops. So we go ahead and switch out into Dusclops, and I do go ahead and take this Crunch. I wanted to save my Mawile for later. We're going to go ahead and get off a Fire Punch against his Steelix, which will be met with a shield. Kind of surprised he shielded that. You know, I'm not saying it was a bad play. I wasn't expecting the shield. So I will shield this Crunch, and we charge up for yet another Fire Punch. And I don't think he shields this one. No, he doesn't. And so now I do go for another Fire Punch again, because that's how fast Dusclops charges up. He will shield that, so I'm trying to feint him down. He does get to another Crunch, so I will shield this, and then I think I knock him out with Hex before. No, I don't. I don't know why I didn't. I should have just went to knock him out with Hex. Maybe I was afraid he would get to another Crunch. That's what I thought I did, but that's okay. Anyway, he brings in his own Dusclops, and I'm going to go ahead and switch into my Mawile. And as I said, we could take Fire Punch, as you could see. I mean, we still take a good amount of damage, but we're still able to take it. We could have blocked one of these Fire Punches if we kept the shield, but for some reason I did not. I should have, but that's okay. So a little bit of a mistake on my end. We're going to get hit with Fire Punch, and then we knock out Dusclops, and the final Pokemon is that Lugia, and it's definitely over for me. There's no way I'm going to be able to beat it. Even if I still had the Mawile left, I don't think that I would have beaten this Lugia, because we would have taken one of those Fire Punches, right? So we would have been low, and Lugia, I think, would have been able to get to like Sky Attack against Mawile as well as I don't know, maybe we would have. He actually hits me with the Hydro Pump, so he does go ahead and win that one. So definitely a mistake on my end, but that's okay. That is okay. So we're going to go ahead and jump into another game. I do lead with Poliwrath. He leads with Steelix. Now, I know he doesn't have Thunder Fang on his Steelix, so this is definitely favorable for me. He pulls the switch into Lugia, and I just charge up a little bit of energy and switch into Mawile to catch the Sky Attack. So we do take the Sky Attack. Still doing okay damage, I guess. Nothing crazy. He gets to another Sky Attack. I do shield this one, because as I said, I'm not super familiar with how fast Lugia charges up. I should be, but I'm not. I thought it was Sky Attack. I figured it was Sky Attack, but I still decided to shield it just because I wanted to stay relatively healthy as well. So we do knock out the Lugia, and he brings in his Poliwrath, and I'm going to go ahead and take this hit, which is going to be a power up punch. I was hoping I could get to a Play Rough. Perhaps if I blocked that, I could have. So I go for my Play Rough, and he actually shields this for fear that it was a Play Rough, so it ended up working out for me. I'm going to bring in my Poliwrath and go for the Power Up Punch, and he'll take it, of course, and he's going to follow suit and go for a Power Up Punch as well. So again, if it's a mirror match with Poliwrath, the Poliwrath with with Dynamic Punch, generally speaking, is going to win because it just does so much more damage. So anyway, we get hit with a Power Up Punch. It is nice to boost Bubble, so I'm not going to discredit you if you're going with Power Up Punch, but I definitely am liking Dynamic Punch. So he does bring in his Steelix, and I am going to go ahead and go for another Power Up Punch. Again, we would have done a lot of damage if it was Dynamic Punch. Actually, I think we would have knocked Steelix out if it was Dynamic Punch, but either way, we get knocked out. And then we'll bring in Alolan Marowak, and with one shield left, and because of how fast Alolan Marowak charges up, I knew that we had this game, so we're going to knock out Steelix, and that was a GG. So we have even more games for you, even more games, so let's see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and lead with Dusclops. He leads with his Cresselia. So again, another Pokemon that I know is popular, however, I don't know how long it takes to get to like Aurora Beam or whatever other move it has, Moonblast. I'm not super familiar with it. I definitely have to check that out just because I haven't faced a whole lot of Cresselias in my day. So I definitely have to, as I said, check it out and get more familiar with it before my tournament. So he switches in to catch the Shadow Punch. It's a nice switch, but we're still able to go for another Fire Punch because we do charge up the energy. And I believe he goes for a charge move as he does. So I'm going to go ahead and block this, trying to get to another Fire Punch. So we are able to get to it. And I knew this obviously double, Ferrothorn's double weak to it. So he does burn his last shield, which is definitely good for us. So let's see what happens. I do go ahead and bring in my Mawile. He will switch to Dusclops. A little surprised at that switch, but I guess he didn't really have much of an answer to Mawile. So I'm going to go ahead for the Power Up Punch. Now, Power Up Punch is fantastic on Mawile because it boosts up Bite. So we will definitely be using that. We actually take that Fire Punch. Maybe I should have blocked that. I decided to actually let this go through because I was pretty confident. We bring in Steelix, which is my final Pokemon, and then I still have a shield. He is going to bring in his next Pokemon, which will be that Ferrothorn, and I do go ahead and shield this. Power Whip would have done okay damage, nothing crazy. He switches into Cresselia trying to catch the Earthquake, but I wasn't going to go for Earthquake anyway because I knew Crunch, or at least I thought Crunch would take out Ferrothorn. It wasn't 100%, but I was pretty confident it would at that range. So again, get off 2 Crunches against Cresselia, and then he brings in Ferrothorn, and we could take a Power Whip. He's not going to go for Thunder, obviously, so we could take a Power Whip. Still does good damage to a Steelix. But we're going to go ahead and go for that Crunch, and that is going to be the end of this video, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day. Bye.